NMV's Nina Shabazz brings on Valerie A. Campbell to interview the laws of attraction and sexual polarity for our Global View segment. Then Hassan Muhammad shares his experiences with budgeting and tips to reduce spending on non-essential goods during economic uncertainty. And finally, Patrick Oliver will discuss reading and writing literacy programs that decrease the literacy achievement gap of young Black boys. Before we delve into the top news, let's do a recap on the current events we've covered this week. On yesterday's broadcast, NMV contributor Brian E. Muhammad discussed the UN General Assembly commemorative meeting, acknowledging victims of the transatlantic slave trade, the need for reparatory justice, and the ways the U.S. and European nations continue to benefit from slave labor, colonization, and stolen land.
In what ways has the U.S. and other European nations benefited from slave labor, benefited from colonization, and even stolen lands?
There's a book that the Nation of Islam research team put together called How the White Man Got So Rich. And then there's another book that was out for many years called How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. See, these books are talking about the exploitation and how that was done. Now, when you look at slavery, the traditional slavery as we know it, of what happened to our people, if you take a land from our indigenous brothers and sisters, and then you go in Africa and you bring Africans and enslave Africans, and they work for free for 300 years, right? That will put you in a very good position financially if you're the enslaver.
Sister Charlene Muhammad discussed how the freedom of speech is being denied to those who speak about the dangers of COVID vaccines, including Attorney Kennedy of the Children's Health Defense Organization.
Now, would you say that the government and the media are waging an attack on constitutional rights and freedoms of speech?
Well, yes, I will say what Attorney Robert F. Kennedy, who is the chair and he's the chief legal counsel for Children's Health Defense, has told me, as well as the chief another counsel with his organization, that this is definitely attack on freedom of speech. And once that's gone, then all of the other rights are stripped away. But how can you say that people who are voicing concerns, they say, critics argue, about what's injuring people? How can you say that they have no right to say that and shut out those voices? The ultimate end is, again, depopulation.
Dr. Akili updated us on the new strain of the COVID virus that is spreading across the United States. The new wave
What
of
has
COVID-
your research of this vaccine led you to conclude so far?
Well, public statements like that lady that we just heard are really, to me, statements that don't really have merit, because for somebody to say that the vaccine is the reason why numbers are going down in the UK, there aren't any there is no evidence that can purport her claim. There was a downturn in most areas of the world outside of the United States before vaccines became available. The United States was really one of the few countries that were still on a high rise of the numbers. So to say that vaccines have caused a lower infection rate, I think is probably a little bordering on not telling the truth from my experience and research.
Netfa Freeman of Black Alliance for Peace updated us on the protests in Haiti. The interventionism of the United States, United Nations, and Organizations of America's states into Haiti and other neo-colonized countries.
The Haitian people's right to national sovereignty must be respected. Is the Haitian president Jovenel Moise's refusal to step down disrespecting the Haitian people's right to sovereignty?
Well, I mean, absolutely it is. There's thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people in the street protesting Jovenel Moise. And so whenever the people aren't able to exercise and have what they want in terms of leadership, in terms of government, in terms of policies, then that means that they don't have any sovereignty. Not to mention the fact that the Jovenel Moise represents the interest of the West. He is a like the person before him, Michel Martelly. They have been handpicked by the United States, by the U.S. pretty much, but all the Western powers, and so without, as long as the people can't get their choice in terms of being exercise democratic rights to voting on people, representatives, and policies, then that's a breach of the sovereignty of the people.
Dr. Abdul Halim Muhammad and Dr. Asad El Malik discussed the Derek Chauvin murder trial, post-traumatic slave syndrome, and the lack of intervention to prevent this murder.
If Derek Chauvin is found guilty or he's found innocent, from your perspective, what would be the impact of the verdict? If he's found guilty, how would that impact Black America? And what would probably be Black America's response? And if he's found innocent, how would that impact Black America?
I think obviously a guilty verdict will serve the benefits of justice, and we'll be able to say that justice was achieved and delivered in that case. However, I'm not expecting a guilty verdict. I'm expecting either a hung jury or acquittal. And I'm sure that we remember this, the summer activities of the protest. I'm sure we'll see a lot of protest. I'm sure we'll see a lot of lofty speeches from politicians and different members of our community. But maybe I'm cynical, but I don't believe anything will change in our psyche, nor will it change in theirs.
Dr. Abdul Halim Muhammad and Dr. Asad El Malik discussed the music industry's controversial music content and the merchandising of industry artists that have been going on for decades.
Candace Owens, and people agree with her, disagree with her, but one of the things that she said was that online to Lil Nas X was that he was being used by these corporations and these big execs to basically destroy the minds of children. Was she right in that assessment, or is she off basis?
Well, Black masculinity has been under attack since our feet hit the shores of North America, with buck breaking, lynching, police brutality, the propaganda in the media that makes us look like a beast. When you look at the Birth of a Nation movie by D.W. Griffith, that we're incompetent, we're incapable, we're unqualified to hold public office, and all we want to do is sleep with a white woman. And all of this, and then we look at the mass incarceration. We're people, especially Black men, that are endangered species. So so you can again go and look at just the whole atmosphere environment that's being created now about that we are the source of anti-Semitism, we're the source of misogyny, we're the source of anti-Asian hate, we're the source of all of the evils that embody America. But you know something, if you lift our tag in the back of our shirt, it won't say made in China, it'll say made in the USA.
Evanston, Illinois reparation plan provides some Black residents that were victims of discriminatory housing redlining with reparation payments.
Is it a mere symbolic gesture, or is this a good first step?
It's a step. I don't know if it's good, and I don't know if it's a first step. But if it involves land, now you got my attention as an urban planner. You have my attention. Because without land, this whole thing is about property. It's about land. Remember the 39 men, actually 40 signatures on the Constitution, but the 39 men that signed the Constitution of the United States, they were white male property owners. And they didn't even want white men that didn't own property to vote. It's about land. So we got to have land in order to feed, clothe, and shelter ourselves. It's a good start, but it doesn't end there. You can give somebody money, but if you don't educate them with the knowledge of self to do for self, then that land can be taken from them. That money can be taken from them. And if you give them land to feed, clothe, and shelter themselves, you got to give them the tools and implements and materials necessary to sustain themselves. And you do have to provide a measure of capital so that they're able to continue and perpetuate what it is that they're doing. So land, education, tools, equipment, material, and capital. But really, we need more. We need like 100 million acres just to start.
Sister Carmen Muhammad, inspirational fashion designer and founder of Al Nisa Designs, modest style MGT apparel, has garnered international acclaim and awards during Torino Fashion Week.
How examples of how you have seen the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan be an advocate for the rights of women?
Every time he does a lecture and he is focusing on the value of the woman, the value of the mother, the value of the daughter, the beauty of the woman, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan does nothing but lift the woman up and inspires us to be women of God. Everything that he does is to build a better life for us. He understands who we are. He understands that we are that second self of God. And he tries every time he speaks to us to let us know that his love for us is so pure and so real, and that he is the protector over us. And he will continue to do that because he is constantly exalting the women.
Student Minister Donald Muhammad discussed the growing dissatisfaction with the U.S. government and their ongoing actions to affect voter participation.
How would you characterize the current racial atmosphere and political climate in the United States?
Well, you can always determine based on the progress of Black people. They has always tried to hold us back. Go all the way back to Black Wall Street in Tulsa. Go all the way back to changing. They are doing this in 43 states all over the United States right now, even in the Missouri. Missouri is what they call a red state. So therefore, they have changed a lot of the voter laws here as well. Also, in the city of St. Louis, they had a proposition called Prop D that took away the partisan political voting elections, and then they are nonpartisan now. So now there's a runoff. Even when two people win, the first two that wins in a primary has to do a runoff now. All of this is designed to stop Black rule, my brother.
Let us pause for announcements from our sponsors. When we return, our Global View co-host Nina Shabazz will be on for our interview with Valerie A. Campbell to talk about the laws of attraction. We'll be right back.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps us to highlight solutions for a brighter tomorrow. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.
This is Sister Sajda Muhammad. We are proud to announce that the Sajda House commemorative Elijah coins are finally here. This priceless heirloom, made from recycled copper from the messenger's home, is now available at sajdahouse.com.
The hashtag #BankBlack social media campaign made strides not only in revolutionizing how we bank, but also how we think. The movement inspired thousands of African Americans across the country to transfer or deposit millions of dollars into Black-owned banks. These are banks that will invest in urban communities, employ African Americans, support Black businesses, and inspire Black home ownership. This is a very proud moment for our culture as we are taking small, but significant, steps towards building Black power through Black wealth.
Please share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel at National Network View. I am Anissa Muhammad with nnvnews.com.
UK-based Valerie A. Campbell is an enhanced relationships coach, an award-winning author of She's Got the Vibe, and teacher of The Secret Vibe to women worldwide via her weekly radio coaching show. Here's a clip.
You're looking in all the wrong places. It's been said that bars and parties aren't the best places to find the love of your life, but life is rarely as black and white as that. Maybe someone's looking too hard, eager to make a move on the first person to give them attention. They may be so excited to scope out the crowd that they forget about those who are already in their lives. They may even be shutting down opportunities for themselves because they aren't open to meeting someone at a bar, party, or another unexpected place.
Now, have you been looking for your Mr. Right, but you keep on attracting Mr. Wrong? Well, I'm here to dispel a myth. There is no such thing as Mr. Right, and there is no such thing as Mr. Wrong. The thing is, if you deem him Mr. Wrong by default, do you not then automatically become Mrs. Wrong? You see, what you attract, energetically speaking, vibrationally speaking, is always your perfect match. So if you don't like what you're attracting, then you need to look at yourself. You need to look within, and you need to change your vibes so that you can attract your perfect.
How you doing, Sister Nina?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. So, as you can see, Valerie's drive is to share the knowledge that she has accumulated in this field and kind of shortcut the process for single, smart, strong, and ambitious women via her unique vibe formula, so that they don't waste any more time, energy, and lipstick. So she specializes in the law of attraction, particularly sexual polarity, which dictates that the more masculine energy a woman has, the more effeminate a man that she will attract. So without further ado, greetings, Valerie. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Hear you.
I think your camera. There you are.
Greetings, Valerie. How you doing?
Okay,
Hi.
right. Sorry, I couldn't really. It's the sound is breaking up. Yeah, there I am. Hello.
Hello.
Thank you. I know it's really late there, and I really thank you for joining us so late.
Couldn't clearly at all. But yes, I'm Valerie Campbell, and
let me see here. Okay.
Sorry, I catch that.
Sorry, I think
breaking up a little bit.
It's breaking up a little bit. Can you hear us?
Right, I can.
Tell us a little bit about how you got started, if you can hear that.
So we can hear you. We just can't see you, but it is mighty choppy. Oh, there you go.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us? Yeah. It's frozen. If you can hear us, try logging in and logging back.
I can hear you now. It's
okay.
Tell us how you got started in your enhanced relationship coaching. What was the impetus for you to start coaching in relationships?
It's very choppy. I'm so sorry. The sound is just going in and out, and I
say try logging in and then logging back.
So I worked with 120 men, and I was the only female. I worked in services.
Okay. So while we're trying to get her connection to pretty much come back, have you discussed anything with her, Sister Nina, before?
Yeah, one of the things that we talked about when I decided to have her on as a guest is that she was saying so much of who we are, who we attract is based off of kind of our psychological mindset, our energy, if you will, that we put out there. And so she was saying that a lot of it has to do with she coaches women on really examining themselves and kind of looking at some of the energy, some of the behaviors that they put out, that may send out, to the universe, if you will, since the universe is energy and we're all energetic people and respond and attract based off of energy. She was saying that most of her sessions via her podcast is to get women to really deep dive and look at their own energy that they have and some of the energy that they put out that they may inadvertently be putting out that attracts a particular kind of person. And, sometimes she's saying it was pattern based, like, I always seem to attract this kind of person, or I always seem to attract this kind of person. Why can't I attract this kind of person? And so basically she teaches them to kind of, do some reflection. And so then that way they can, change some of the behaviors that that they may not even have been aware of. There's a series of tests and things that she does. And so it's pretty interesting, her technique. She coined a vibe technique. And if she's able to come back on, I'll certainly ask her to explain that particular acronym, because I think it's an important part of what the coaching that she does.
Yeah, something that she said stuck out to me. It was very interesting. And she said, if you deem somebody as Mr. Wrong, do you kind of inadvertently deem yourself as Mrs. Wrong? And that was that hit me right there. Because,
right.
That makes a lot of sense, because if he or she isn't right for you, then you obviously aren't right for them as well. So let's see if she's getting back on here now.
You have to love the technology.
I know, right?
Valerie, are you able to hear us?
Hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I think so. Yes, it's okay. So I've kind of like missed that quite a bit. Right. What was the question?
Sure. Can you tell us what does the acronym VIBE stand for?
Right. VIBE stands for vision, intention, belief, and expectation. And it's a formula that I devised from my learnings and from my just understanding about how men and women relate to one another. And so it takes women on a journey. So the V is for vision, which basically teaches the woman how to look at herself in the right way, acknowledging that, she's a child and not by what she's been indoctrinated with, what the world tells, that she raise her vibration free the thoughts that she has about herself. So that's the vision. And then from that place, then setting an intention for how she wants to feel in a relationship. So for example, a lady might say to me, she wants a guy with washboard abs, and, tall, dark and handsome. And when you dig deep and say, well, why do you want that? It's because she wants to feel a particular way. And then from there, once you set that habit, I then deal with the beliefs, which is the limiting beliefs. And sometimes you can have beliefs that actually sabotage the relationship that you're in, or actually sabotage the type of man that you want to attract, if attraction works. And so when I then take out those beliefs that are sabotaging the relationship, it ends them in expectation and understanding that you're not going to lean on your understanding of how you think your Mr. Right is show up, but understand in a way as you least expected through that journey. And then voila, at the end, comes in. Wow. But I always say there's no such thing as Mr. Right or Mr. Wrong. There is only your perspective, because poison. So that's what the vibe formula is about.
Wow. I love that, because that stuck out to me in the clip that we played about the no Mr. Right, no Mr. Wrong. And what you said about, if you deem somebody as Mr. Wrong, you got to be deeming yourself as Mrs. Wrong. And that acronym there, it stands true, and it's actually very powerful because that stands true not only in relationships with someone you may want to be intimate with, but relationships with people that you're just going throughout day to day with as well. Your vision, intention, belief, expectation, it flows one right into the other. And that's a beautiful acronym, sister. And I commend you on coming up with that as well.
Yes, I think the acronym is very powerful. I know we don't have time to get to all of our questions today, but I do want to ask.
Choppy, but I think people in general.
You said people in general want.
Catch the question. Sorry, it's just so choppy.
No, that's okay. If you can hear this question, what have you seen has been like the biggest problem with finding and maintaining a great relationship?
And we definitely want to apologize for the technical issues that we're having right now. Were you able to hear that, Sister Valerie?
I didn't. I didn't hear the question. Sorry.
Oh, no problem.
That's okay. I was just saying, what have you seen has been the biggest obstacle with maintaining a great relationship? Well, we'll definitely have to have Valerie back on.
I'm not hearing you.
I'm sorry. Yeah, the technical issues are definitely have thrown a curveball to what I thought would have been a fantastic discussion. So we'll definitely have to invite Valerie back on so we can actually finish our discussion. And I apologize. I don't know if it's because she's overseas, but I want to thank our guest, Valerie A. Campbell. I will post your link to your website, and we will definitely have you back to finish this discussion. Thanks again for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Sister Valerie, for joining us, and we do apologize again for those technical issues. So, Sister Nina, and I want to thank you as well for coming onto the show to kickstart that as well. So, I thank you, Sister Nina. You have a great night.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. All right, so let us pause for announcements from our sponsors. Then we'll bring on Hassan Muhammad to talk about budgeting and giving advice on financial literacy. We'll be right back.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.
Thank you for tuning in to NNV News. Please share your thoughts with us in the comments section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel, National Network View. This is Clifton Muhammad with nnvnews.com.
Worldwide, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Download the Final Call Radio app and take us everywhere. On your phone, on your computer, on your tablet, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also log on to finalcall.com and click the Listen Live button, or finalcallradio.com. Final Call Radio, the official voice of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam.
This is Sister Sajda Muhammad. We are proud to announce that the Sajda House commemorative Elijah coins are finally here. As we renovate and restore the former home of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we have recycled the old copper gutters and downspouts and created a 1 ounce 39mm coin made of 100% pure copper. Each coin is professionally graded and has its own barcode and registration number. This priceless heirloom made from recycled copper from the messenger's home, is now available at sajdahouse.com.
It is important for individuals and families to start budgeting and reducing their spending on non-essential goods during a time of economic uncertainty.
The wage gap between black people and white people has stretched a lot over the past 40 years. Now the wage gap is at 26.7%, and a new study says that's with all things equal, including education, experience, and location. That means white people take home $25.22 an hour, while a black person with the same background will make $18.49. In 1979, the gap was just 18%. When you adjust for inflation, black people were making $16.07 an hour, while their white counterparts took home $19.62. The primary reason? Racial discrimination in the job market. For example, studies show people with black-sounding names are less likely to get a call back than people without them. And wage inequality continues to build over time. So if a black woman got a job in the 80s and was already making less than a white woman, that disadvantage will keep on building.
Now joining us today, we have our brother Hassan Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Salam, sir.
How are you doing today, brother?
Oh, by Allah's permission and grace, I'm doing well. Thank you.
That's fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you for taking the time out to join us today. We know that you have some very good information that comes with budgeting during this economic uncertainty. So I guess we could just start off really just saying, why is it important to even budget in the first place?
Budgeting is just a basic principle of budgeting is just knowing your income and expenses. You need to know your bottom line, and that will dictate your actions to maintain your family, your family's financial health. Excuse me, a little nervous there, brother. So that's essentially the importance, just simply for budgeting.
Well, yes, sir. I thank you about that. Yes, sir, because it's definitely important. And so, what really made you begin to have or realize the importance of budgeting?
One, give thanks to Allah for my mother coming into these teachings in the Nation of Islam, and at a very early age, she introduced me to her household budget that I was blessed to be a part of. So early on, I understand some of the basic mechanics of budgeting, but at the age of 25, as an adult, as a young man, married at that time about 3 years, and starting a family of my own, having my first son, it concretized the importance of having it written down, not just up here, but on paper, tracking what you budgeted for and the items that you did not budget for, and how it affects your household income. So I would say 25, brother. Real quick, I got a statement from the IRS, a summary of income for 10 years. I started working, earning a W-2 at the age of 15. So at a 10-year mark, they sent me my wages, what I had applied for taxes. And at that point, it was about between $500,000 and $600,000 have flowed through my hands in 10 years. And I looked around and said, what is it that I'm accomplishing with those funds to better myself and my family?
Wow. You said, say it again. You said how much flowed through your hands?
It was about $500,000, brother. I was, I'm a worker. Like I said, W-2 at 15, had a small business at 9, cutting grass that I maintained for 6 years until then. So never was a stranger to getting that dollar, but to see it in a large picture like that, it did something in me personally that has sent me on a journey over the last 8 years.
Wow. Okay, man, I have some questions on that, but let's keep on rolling. Let's keep the ball rolling, yes, sir, brother. So, as far as the importance of budgeting, because you mentioned writing it out on paper, and I'm not gonna say I'm just the most greatest financial literacy guy, but I'm pretty above standard, And I have never thought to write it out myself. It's always been up here. I mean, I get the job done, but it's still always been up here. But I can see why writing it out would be so beneficial. And so I would just say, what additional items or what items at all should be in a budget?
So we have our normal items, which are the ones you and I keep up here on
Right.
mental paper: rent, electric, water, cell phone. That's number one. I think most of us pay our cell phone before anything get paid. Um, so these are what I call your reoccurring monthly bills, right? These are the things that you have every single month and are very hard to forget because someone will remind you very quickly if you forget those. But some of the things that are not on our monthly radar are yearly registrations for your vehicle, for instance, or if you have inspections in the state that you're in, and then you have repairs that have to be done in order to pass inspection and allow you to drive your vehicle on the road. So those are examples of yearly expenses. You may have quarterly or semi-annual expenses for taxes if you're in business. Various so excuse me, brother, I'm thinking while you're talking. Birth of a child, as I'm expecting my fourth child now, is an expense that is not a regular occurring expense, and you need to be able to add that into your budget and see how it affects your bottom line. So you decide whether to take something away, reduce something, or in my case, call your supervisor on your third job and ask for some additional hours.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to be brief, just kind of explain to the people what does the bottom line mean?
Yes, sir. So bottom line is your net operating income. In business, that's what is at the very bottom line item on your P&L, which is a profit and loss statement. So your household is really a business. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that business is the activity of life. So your first business is your household, and managing that business well is very important. So you have your income on one side, let's say for number's sake, $1,000 a month, and your expenses are $950 a month. When you net those out, meaning you subtract the expense from the income, so $1,000 minus the $950 expense, you're left with $50 at the end of the month. And does that sound like anybody?
Yes, sir.
So that's your bottom line. That's your net operating income for a monthly budget for your household.
Okay. Makes a lot of sense. Yes, sir. So, I would just say, with speaking on people who may not make, a lot of money, right? They make a minimum wage. And as we know, the minimum wage is way below the living wage that we should be having. And so those who are living or making a minimum wage, how do they get into saving and budgeting? Because they're already struggling as it is, living check to check, paying the bills and buying the necessary goods that they are needing to buy in order to just live. So when you tell somebody you need to save, you need to budget, they're going to look at you crazy because they're going to say, man, I don't even have enough money. I barely have enough money to make it to the next month. So how do you convince or how do you teach somebody to save and budget when they're not making too much money as it is?
Well, I want to separate those two terms, saving and budgeting. They're used together, but they are two separate things. Your budget is imperative no matter how much money you make. It doesn't cost you to get a piece of paper and write down what your expenses are and to write down your income. A budget allows you to see that deficit that you're going to have at the end of the month. So that's the first step. And if saving isn't a line item on the budget sheet and you want to add it to it, right? That's kind of another conversation. So budgeting is imperative for anyone to do, whether you have extra money at the end of the month or you don't, because it's a roadmap for you to get to wherever it is that you want to go at any time that you need to do it. Even if an unexpected flat tire or a head gasket blows, you need to know, do I have enough this month to cover that? Do I need to take, do I need to wait till next month? Can I call moms or uncle or auntie to borrow and know that and ask for the money, knowing I can pay them back in the time frame that I say that I can, right? Because you understand your budget. Saving and getting into those things, dear brother, if it be the will of God, I would like to go deeper into this subject, because you're right. There are a lot of questions and we have a lot of obstacles in our way as it just deals with finances. So your question is very deep. And if it be the will of Allah, we can take some additional time. But I will say this, if you don't have enough money to save, then you may not even have enough money to eat, right? So you like you said, you are rare on the edge of just taking care of your basic necessities. So a budget is going to show us if we need to go after additional income and where we can cut out non-essential, and that's the key, non-essential. Starbucks is not essential.
Yeah,
right. Jordans are not essential.
That's right.
I have this nice suit on, but trust and believe you'll probably see me in this suit next time, right? Because 10 suits are not essential.
Not essential.
Right. So understanding the definition of what's essential, and Netflix, right? Even a cell phone is not necessarily essential unless that's the way you make your money. Then it's essential. If you make your money with a cell phone, it's essential. But for me to clock in and go down the street, jump on a bus and go to my job and come home, a cell phone is not necessarily essential to me making that dollar. So I may have to pull back that expense until Allah blesses me, or God, Yahweh, blesses me to increase my income to take on that additional line item on my budget sheet.
Absolutely, my brother. And yes, sir, we most definitely have to bring you back on, because unfortunately we don't have all the time to really dive deep into every question that we do have. So we can definitely discuss about bringing you back on. Maybe if it be the will of God, maybe for a few episodes. That way you have enough time to really go a little bit deeper into what it is about budgeting and financial literacy, because this is a very important topic. It's a very, very important topic for our community, especially now that we are creating our own opportunities to make more money for ourselves. Because and you can attest to it, just because you make more money doesn't mean that you're going to have more money.
Yes, sir.
And so just for the last question, I do want to say, for starting to building up wealth in your family. So how can you use budgeting to start to build up wealth for you and your family?
Just very quickly, because I know we don't have a lot of time, but as we talked about that bottom line, that net operating income, if you have, let's say, an additional $1,000 a month on your net operating income, you and your family now can sit down and say, okay, what is it that we can do with $1,000? What can we either A, invest in, or B, buy and resell or make and produce with that $1,000 to turn it into $1,100? Even just turning it into $1,100. If you can do that every single month, you will be better than every single Wall Street investor that there is out there. That's a 10% gain. So yes, sir.
All right, my brother. I appreciate you for giving us such profound explanations on what it is budgeting and financial literacy. We thank you, and inshallah, if it be the will of God, we will definitely bring you back on, and we'll be able to go a little bit deeper into this topic as well. So I thank you again, brother, and you have a great night.
All praises due to Allah. Thank you as well.
Yes, sir, my brother. All right. So now we'll be taking some time and pause for announcements from our sponsors. And afterwards, we'll bring on Patrick Oliver and discuss literacy and some of its causes. We'll be right back.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps us to highlight solutions for a brighter tomorrow. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.
Asiatic Minds. Online education. Helping our children to discover their God-given skills, gifts, talents, and passion that will allow them to see their greatness, as well as the greatness of our people. And upon discovering that greatness, infusing them with the desire to use it for the betterment of themselves, their families, our people, and the world. Call now, 502-219-5252. 4848. This week's headline for the Final Call cover story is entitled, Under the Shadow of Death. The trial of Derek Chauvin, the ex-police officer and accused murder of George Floyd, has begun, giving exposure to grief, loss, and the terror Black people continue to suffer with no guarantee of justice. This FCM Volume Number 27 edition features the middle page article by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the message to the Nubian Leadership Circle entitled, Building a Nation of Our Own. To read more, subscribe to finalcalldigital.com and tune in to the all-new Final Call Radio. This is the nnvnews.com Final Call Cover Report.
Reading and writing literacy programs help improve reading proficiency skills and decrease the illiteracy achievement gap of youth, especially young Black boys.
Illiteracy in America, the world's most powerful country, is, contrary to many assumptions, a major problem. Illiteracy is particularly prevalent in minority communities, more so among Black boys.
A student is in fourth grade and is reading at a high second grade level or maybe even lower.
That's Devontae Augustus, a fourth grade language arts teacher whose lived experience is not an isolated case. In fact, according to an analysis by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Foundation, in 2018, only 18% of Black American fourth graders were proficient in reading. In eighth grade, only 16% of Black American students were proficient. In order to solve these literacy setbacks, many have suggested expanding school choice, which, according to its advocates, would give less fortunate parents more options, not relegating them mainly to the perceived failed public school system. Mr. Augustus has a more nuanced approach.
Some people just are not in an area where they're fortunate enough to have those options. But I do think that there are a lot of great educators who work in the public school system who are able to teach students and able to see them grow.
Joining us is Mr. Patrick Oliver with Say It Loud, Readers and Writers. How you doing, my brother?
I'm doing just fine, brother. Thanks for having me on and being a part of this very powerful news show. Really enjoyed the first two segments.
Thank you. Thank you. We really appreciate that. And we want to thank you for taking the time out to come on and discuss this very, very important and heavy topic that comes with literacy programs, because it's definitely something that we need to address in our community. So jumping right on into it, national reading scores track Black and Hispanic male students at the bottom for reading proficiency. 86% of African American boys and 82% of Hispanic boys. So what factors have led to these poor literacy outcomes among Blacks and Hispanics?
Lack of attention. Bottom line, when you send your children to schools, we taught somebody that doesn't look like them, what do we expect to happen? And that's what is happening. People that does not look like our children are teaching our children, and they are not giving them the best product necessary for them to become proficient. As a matter of fact, our children are born at genius level. We know this. We know this from just scientific research. We just know this from just being around our children. So when we send them to school for others to teach them, they're not going to teach our children or nurture their natural genius. They're going to give them just enough so they can possibly pass some standardized tests, so they can receive their federal dollars, whatever the case may be. But that's the first problem. And the other problem is they don't really understand, again, what nurtures Black children, Black boys' interests. Boys have to see themselves in books. You're going to read books if you see your image of yourself in a book. You see names that sound like you in a book. You see neighborhoods like yours. You see images of your grandmother, grandfather in books. You're going to be interested. I'm not going to read a book that has Debbie and little Harry and Chip, names like that in books. It doesn't sound like a boy and girl in my neighborhood. But if I hear Tariq, Malik, Kareem, those names in books, then I'm attracted to it because those names are familiar. So culturally relevant books has to be in front of our children on a consistent and daily basis. Not just at school, brother, but also in our homes. We're part of responsibility too, because when our children come home to us and they speak to us, or they read something to us, we should know right away what grade level they're at.
No, absolutely. Absolutely, sir. And with what you were representation and what you were hitting on right there is very, very important. That representation is important because I remember I would do tutoring, and whenever I would do tutoring, and anytime I was tutoring a child that came in with a reading assignment, they never could understand it just from reading the passage that they had right in front of them. But if I broke it down and I gave them an example in a way that they could relate to, then they understood. And most of the time, they were able to answer the questions correctly and get high scores. So that representation portion that you hit on is very, very important. And so that, that kind of leads me to my next question is about, what are some of the perceptions that educators and parents have about reading, learning, and motivation that may need to change as well? And how do we equip parents with tools that they need to mature the children's development and ensure that they arrive at kindergarten ready to succeed?
Hip again, cool again. We have to connect young people reading with success. We see images just all over our television screens, cell phone screens, Netflix, you name it. We're consuming too much television for one. And typically, the success that we see from Black folk that's on those shows are entertainers, athletes, that sort of thing. We have to show young people that success are journalists like yourself. A success is a lawyer, success entrepreneurs. So we have to change the whole narrative. What does reading do? It is cool to be smart. It is cool to be intellectual. We come from a history of genius, thinkers, innovators. That's our history. That's our culture. So we have to remind our parents that, every child is not going to, and this cliche is, make it to the NBA, NFL. Parents will sign their children up for the community football team, basketball team. Brother, I didn't realize the registration fees were that expensive to play on a youth football team. They had to buy sneakers. The cleats, the shoulder pads, the helmet. We talking, and the registration fee, brother. We talking about $300. How many parents at one time spend $300 on books? So we have to really look at those sort of things. And again, it's about self-responsibility, and self-responsibility is about self-preservation. We have to clearly understand reading. We're talking about saving our children's lives. The second priority, we're talking about financial literacy, but you're not going to understand financial literacy if you don't know what the word net gains mean. You don't know what the word production mean. These kind of words are extremely important, particularly as we move into the future. Everything is going to be digital. Everything is not going to be. It already is. COVID-19 shifts the whole game in terms of entrepreneurship.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. And those are important words. Excuse me. Those are very important words that you are speaking on. Self-accountability. We definitely need more self-accountability when it comes to the education of our babies as well, and being able to guide them, because we know the school system isn't going to guide them the right way. And so we got to be able to, at home and as a community, make sure that we are guiding our babies towards the right direction, because they can get a little bit, they can have fun at the same time, but also at the same time, we need to make sure that they have an outstanding literacy rate as well. And so, according to the National Assessment of Educational Progress, data reading proficiency of Black youth triggers alarms. Why are the youth who fail to hit proficiency mark by the end of third grade said to be 4 times more likely to drop out of high school? Why is it critical to end proficiently by the end of the third grade?
We see the interest drop. The kid, he's frustrated in the classroom. He can't, participate in the classroom, and he doesn't do well on tests, because you think about it, 4th grade, he or she is 2 grades away from being in middle school. So he should be prepared. We should be preparing our kids when they graduate from elementary school. They're ready for the 9th grade. They're ready for high school. That should be our target as adults in the community. So we have to really focus on that. So it's extremely important, again, that we remember that our children are prepared for whatever we put on them, but it comes from home. People, library cards are free. All the books you could ever want are at your local library. I encourage my parents, go to the library, ask the librarian, you want every book that's on the Coretta Scott King reading list. Those books reflect the images of our children, of our community, and Coretta Scott King developed that reading list, developed that prize. So parents, Black parents, could take their children to the library and check out books that are readily available for them, already reviewed by Black educators and librarians. So we're ready to go. We are ready to go. Our children are ready to go. So it's on us now to take our community to the next level. Again, we're innate intellectuals. We built societies. So hey, let's get back to nurturing our children so they can become the next builders and developers.
That's right. That's right, brother. And we definitely appreciate you for taking the time out to come on today and really give us some very, very important information on what it is our baby's literacy rates. And so, we definitely need to bring you back on so that we have more time to be able to go a little bit deeper as well into, the statistics and how we can even inspire our children to even be able to want to start reading again, because like you said, they have been consumed with the electronics that we have and the entertainment that we have as well. So we need to definitely bring you back on, my brother, so that we can go a little bit deeper into this. But once again, I thank you and I appreciate you for coming on tonight. And yes, sir, you just have a great night.
We appreciate you. They can check me out at speakloudly.com, www.speakloudly.com. We'd love to come back and join you. Great show, brother. Fantastic show. Peace.
Thank you, brother. Peace. All right. So thank you for joining us today and turning into NNV News. Please share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel, National Network View. This is Tariq X with National Network View News.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.